What's going on, everybody? Terrence Doyle, Multifamily Mentors, Season 3. I have some amazing guests that are near and dear to my heart. The Donis Brothers, originally from Guatemala. Now they currently live in North Carolina. They've got an incredible story. And if you are struggling with taking action, right? If you're in a rut, if you're like, how do I get to the next stage or season of my life? How do I progress? This episode is for you, right? These guys, just to paraphrase, kids, really, young adults, young men, dropped out of college, started wholesaling, and in the last 2.5 years have done over 6 syndications and started out as just a small part of the GP to the lead sponsor in the GP. So this episode is going to cover their entire story. So welcome to Denver. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So a quick intro here, because you guys look like it could be triplets. So give me a quick intro for those of you, everyone out there, so they can understand who you guys are and the names. And
For sure. My name's Jeffrey Donis. I'm 21 years old.
My name is Kenneth Donis, and I'm 24 years old.
And my name is Kerwin. I am also 21.
So Kerwin and Jeffrey, I just learned, are twins.
Yeah.
Right. So we got twins at the end. We got Kenneth in the middle.
Yeah.
And Kenneth really, spearheaded this whole thing. So we'll get more into that. But let's start out with, what was it like? What was it like to grow up in a low-income home with an immigrant parent in the United States? What was that like? And what are maybe the top 2 or 3 things that instilled in you guys that have helped you guys get where you're at today?
So yeah, we came from, single mother, low income background. Really, I think my mom did a very good job of never really, she always told us, hey, we're not rich. She always emphasized that, obviously. But really growing up, we never went without eating. We never went without any shelter over our head. So it never felt like we were in poverty. So we were never really like very impoverished, if you could say. But I think my mom did a very good job of spreading the money.
We talked about it before, where we were like grown and groomed to have a scarcity mindset when it came to money. She would always, like I mentioned earlier, make us turn all the lights off when we walk out of rooms. If you leave the TV on and you fall asleep because you're watching TV, she wakes up.
Right,
you're getting the chancla, is what we call it.
Right.
So, like things like that we really understood that, okay, we don't come from a lot of money, and then eventually when we all were of age, where I guess you can start at any age, but we were all 18. Kenneth was like 21 when we first got started. We were like, we need to retire her because she's working really hard. My mom works from like 6 to 9, and she won't come now. She doesn't come home till like 12.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think we don't have this to be all.
So what was watching that work ethic like then? If you're seeing your mom work those many hours and never complain, what did that instill in you guys?
Yeah, I would say for one, definitely the work ethic and just being determined, and not really like taking the time. She's not ever accepted like excuses or any like limiting beliefs. She really is that if you just go do it. And so we definitely have built a tough skin, thick skin, and we've been able to navigate adversity. And so that's helped us overcome adversity that we face in our real estate business.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things about being from a third world country, right? Is just, I saw the same thing in my family early on, right? My mom was just so diligent about education. My dad worked for the same company for 35 years. My grandparents in South America, he was in his 70s and 80s, still working every single day. I think that's one of the big blessings in disguise is growing up with any kind of poverty or any kind of humble beginnings is, the mental toughness, the fortitude, the scrappiness, and that work ethic, right? That immigrant work ethic is such an advantage later on in life.
Yeah,
absolutely. I truly believe that adversity helps build character.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So that's one of the things that really attracted me to you guys, right? Is one of the, just where you guys come from, a lot of similarities there. And the second thing that I love that this show is really about is to motivate and inspire the next generation of what is possible, right? Because the way I grew up, I didn't think that you could own, the apartment building on the corner or the office building or the industrial building. Like I thought that was for some far off wealthy family, had all the money and they owned all the property, right? And to be able to highlight what you guys have done in such a short amount of time, how you guys have applied yourself, I think is super inspiring. And I think it's going to really impact, a lot of people around the world, hopefully. So unpack for me the journey, right? You guys are in college. You guys were all in college, right? And what's the light bulb moment that says we got to get out of here and we need to go pursue our dreams and get into real estate?
Yeah. So obviously, we came across wholesaling, and one day I was in class, and I was a kinesiology major, so I wanted to become a physician assistant, go into the medical field. So I was in one of my kinesiology classes with a very, very great professor of mine, and I really adored the class, and it was awesome. But I had missed an assignment the previous week, just because I was cold calling and just busy with other things. So then, she allowed me to make that assignment up without kind of deducting any points. I came in one day and realized that I missed another assignment that was due this day.
Jeez.
She pulled me to the side and said, "Hey, Kenneth," because in the class, I'd always talk about wholesaling real estate. She was also an agent on the side. So she kind of understood the hustle, cold calling. And so I would always talk about it in different examples and apply it to different things whenever I would raise my hand. And so she pulled me to the side one day and was like, "Kenneth, it seems like you're very passionate about real estate. So why are you here?" And I just looked at her and I was confused. And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "People come here to figure out what they want to do in life. But it seems like it seems like this is something that you can do. You can make money, and obviously, and that. Why are you here?" And I was shocked, and I didn't know the answer. And I kind of realized that was my mom. Like my mom, because my mom wanted me to go to school, and I realized I didn't want to do that, and this was an alternative route that we could take and I could take. So ever since that day, I called them and told them, "Hey,
what's the teacher's name?" Shout out to her.
I forgot her name. It's been a while.
What a great professor to say that, right?
Yeah.
To recognize that and to say, you know what? It seems like you've got some different goals and you're on a different wavelength than everyone here. This may not be the best place for you, right? I mean, to me, that's a sign of an amazing teacher that could recognize that and try and help you see that, right?
Yeah.
That maybe that college and university or junior college is not for everyone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, education's for everyone, right? We should never stop learning, but the institution of college may not be for everyone, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone learns different ways. They're motivated different ways. So I think that's amazing. All right. So then what, how did you take it from there to getting in full time?
Yeah. Well, we were already starting to dabble within real estate, cold calling and kind of taking it very, very seriously. So it was very easy decision for me to realize, hey, this is what I want to do. I'm actually pretty passionate, very passionate about this compared to what I'm already doing in college. And I don't really like college at the time. I didn't really like it. So yeah, I mean, it was a pretty easy decision.
And then as I mentioned, the COVID pandemic hit. And we were all in our dorm rooms calling at the time, and we could only spend about 2 hours because as a college student, we were taking, like Kerwin said, 18 hours or more of credit hours.
Which
plus,
is full-time schedule.
Yeah, full-time. Yeah. And I had I won't brag, but I had good grades. Kerwin had good grades, so it takes a lot of time to get good grades.
Jeffrey had so-so.
Kenneth.
Kenneth.
We'll skip over him.
Intentional.
That was intentional. I'm just kidding. But it was on top of studying, and then you have friends, go out to dinner, things like that. But other than that, it was very, very scheduled, and we didn't have that much time to put towards the business. So once the COVID pandemic hit, boom, that cancels out the dinners, right? Because now we're all at home and you eat while you're cold calling. Second, school started being online. So with that, I could get away with not doing as much. And then I was doing well. I ended up finishing the year, but I realized I didn't really like this as much as I like wholesaling, and building a company just excited me so much. And then I sat down one day and was like, what scares me more? I asked myself that. And I was like, yeah, doing this company, just going for it. Everyone's telling me not to. And we like to talk,
to be contrary and go against the grain, right?
And Dale Carnegie, he said, don't take advice from someone you wouldn't trade places with.
Right.
That was something
That's a great line.
Yeah, I love that. And Kerwin came back one day while we were cold calling, and he hung out with a friend, and his mom told us that we weren't doing the right thing by dropping out. She thinks we should go to school and study real estate and do that kind of path. And I was like, Kerwin, has she ever started a company? He said no, and I just kept working. Right. So that was the mindset. And then I wanted to bring that up.
So you guys started out wholesaling.
Yeah.
That was your first entry point into real estate.
Yeah.
And why was that where you guys started?
Yeah, it was a low barrier to entry. We didn't need a lot of money or experience, and we were listening to podcasts. A lot of people that didn't know anything about real estate would start there. They would learn the ropes. You could learn a little bit about residential, single family, but that also a lot of that applies to the multifamily space. So it was a good education, 101 class into real estate. And like I mentioned, it was really cheap to get into it.
So what would you say the 3 things you guys learned from wholesaling that you've been able to apply to multifamily?
Number one, for sure, perseverance and just persistence. Just keep on. Because, we were cold calling, so a lot
Which
of
is
no's.
one of the hardest things to do. Cold calling is one of the worst jobs out there.
Yeah,
right? Just people hanging up on you, cussing you out, making you feel terrible about what you're doing. Cold calling is very frowned upon, right? So to be doing that for the length of time you guys were, because you guys were cold calling for what, like 6-7 months?
Before we got the first deal,
Yeah.
but we continued to do that.
So perseverance with cold calling. And what would you say the second one is?
Well, the ability to like take rejection, but then on top of that, the power, importance of your network.
Right.
So when we first got into wholesaling, we didn't really know what we were doing, but we started making friends with people that were maybe like 2 years ahead of us. So they were really just giving us now knowledge, and we were able to cut our learning curve through that. So that's exactly what we did in multifamily as well.
Yeah, the power of your network. What would you say a third one is?
I would say the ability to lean into the unknown and just take action and fail forward, because at the end of the day, like with multifamily, the transition we made, or just even taking action in wholesaling, it's terrifying. But if you just take action and you learn on the go, it's the best way to do it.
Taking action is so huge, right?
Yeah.
You can get all the knowledge. I mean, there's so many people out there way smarter than me, right? And the difference is they just get so paralyzed by like data or fear that they're never able to take the action. So what I love is, you guys three together have probably encouraged each other on days that one other one's down, the other one's not sure how they're feeling, and just the ability to like encourage each other, challenge each other, hold each other accountable to like consistently be going forward and taking action. So you guys were wholesaling for what, 6-7 months, and you guys did how many wholesale deals?
So it was 6 months before we got our first deal. And then after getting our first deal, we continued for another 10 to 12 months.
Okay.
And ended up with 16 single family deals. We did about 14 wholesale deals. We flipped a house, and we had a few creative finance deals that we were able to add into our portfolio.
So talk about, I love this part of the story. So talk about how much into debt you had to get your first deal and what you made on your first deal.
Yeah. So, I mean, we were in college, typical broke college students. And we knew that we needed a little bit of money. We knew exactly what we needed to do. So we needed to buy list, buy a dialer, and that took a little bit of money. We didn't have as much money. So once our actual money ran out, I had credit cards, and I had, decent lines of credit that I used and leveraged. And we eventually went into about $7,000 in credit card debt, which I wouldn't, recommend to anyone. It probably wasn't very smart. But we just knew that, especially after being in that term or that amount of debt, that there was no turning back, and we would eventually
so you guys
succeed.
turned $7,000 in credit card debt, and your first wholesale deal, you made how much?
It was 33.
Yeah.
$33,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing,
Yeah.
right? Over like 4x the money that you went into debt, you did, and you made in 6-7 months, which is incredible. I mean, some people don't, you can work a full-time job and not net $33,000.
Yeah.
So that's huge. So talk about then, what was the light bulb where you're like, there's something more, we need to get into multifamily?
Yeah, well, wholesaling, the goal was always to retire our mom, generate passive income, and create a lifestyle by design for ourselves.
So that was always the goal. Say those
Absolutely.
things again. You want to retire your mom.
Yeah. Build a lifestyle by design for ourselves and generate passive income that would provide that lifestyle.
Passive income. Got it.
And we thought, okay, wholesaling would provide opportunities. But of course, we ended up creating a job for ourselves. Wholesaling is essentially like sales. So you're marketing all the time. You're calling brokers, sellers, things like that. And we weren't holding on to any of these properties. We knew that that's the key to wealth. That's what Robert Kiyosaki talked about in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You have to hold on to the properties, generate that cash flow. And so we realized it was going to take too long to scale a single family portfolio. And we knew big apartments were always the angle, and we just had limiting beliefs that were holding us from actually pursuing that. And we thought, why not just go ahead and we realized that was not the tree we wanted to climb up. The apartment investing route was.
Yeah. So you guys took a step back, right? You guys were knee deep a year into this, spent a ton of time and kind of mastered it, had it figured out. We're making good money, but then realized this is not really going to lead us where we want. And this isn't the lifestyle we want. Right. And I think that's such a mature, wise decision, your age, because there's so many people I know, friends, people that I've spent time with that are drained in their current job or their current business. And they're like, how did I get here? Right. And they're stuck in a rut, you know what I mean? And they don't know how to get out. And so the ability to realize and to be self-aware enough to say, hey, this isn't really what we want. We need to pivot so that we can get where we want, I think is amazing, and something that everyone should really consider if you're not happy or reaching your goals or don't feel like the path you're on is going to lead you to your desired destination.
Mm-hmm.
Because you guys probably see the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like my brother says, the analogy of, that wasn't the tree we wanted to climb up. We had reached a certain point where, yes, it was, we made money. It got us, a few different things that we could do, but it didn't like really align with our long-term goals of passive income, more, holding on to properties, and then just really larger multifamily, which was, the end goal anyway. So, just building, if we were going to build a business, we just wanted to go directly to what we wanted to continue doing for, the rest of our lives.
And talk about, because I know mentorship was a really big part of your journey in multifamily, right? The name of the show is Multifamily Mentors.
Yeah.
That's really why we created the show, was to be able to inspire people like you guys that don't have access to mentors, right? You guys did, but like there's a lot of people out there that don't even know how to find a mentor. So talk about, your journey finding a mentor and the value it's created for your business.
Yeah. So we had a lot of mentors throughout our entire real estate journey. The first one for creative financing, I don't know if you know Pierce Morby, but he does a lot of subject to, and we joined that group, and that's how we learned how to not only improve our wholesaling operation, but we added different tools to our tool belt, subject to, and then seller financing. And what we would do is we would watch the videos and immediately implement them, and eventually we got our first few deals doing that. So on top of that, with Think Multifamily, it's our multifamily mastermind group that comes with a mentor, and having access to people like that, especially when you're young or new, helps cut your learning curve, gives you access to a network of people, but on top of that, just adds to your credibility. And when we're trying to raise capital or attract partners, talk to brokers, whoever it is, it helps to have someone on your team that has a track record and most importantly, has a great reputation.
Yeah. I mean, I heard the same thing for somebody. This is the third season, right? And every year of the show, I would hear people like yourself say, man, I had this mentor in Rod Cleef or Grant Cardone or, whoever.
Yeah.
And it changed my life, right? They accelerated the learning curve. They gave me a platform and a network to learn from. And it took me from point A to point B so much faster, and they enjoyed the ride. And so, yeah, I mean, this year we did the same thing, right? I mean, we launched a mentorship program, called the Value Tribe. And that's what it's all about, right? Is how can we help accelerate and use kind of the platform and our experience to help motivate, inspire, educate, and accelerate, the learning curve for people that are motivated and just need someone to show them, right?
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person where if I'm in the room with someone that owns, 10 times the number of buildings that I am, if I can just see them and touch them, I feel like I can do it, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like seeing it in action to know that it's real. And then I walk away like, okay, I can go do it, right? And it sounds like that's what, that mentorship group has been for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add on to that, I really think, it's very valuable in a lot of different ways, but another really valuable way that, just being in a mentorship group can help is the proximity to success. So if you're surrounding yourself with successful people, like you said, we're all humans, although some people might have a little bit more experience. You surround yourself with people that are actually doing it. It becomes real, it's actually possible. It's
contagious.
Yes.
It affects you, right? When you're around it, it seeps into your pores and you're like, okay, now I have the confidence. I have the boldness. I have the courage. I just saw them go raise $10 million. I can go do it. I just saw him close this deal. I can do it. Right. And I totally agree. I mean, even just being able to interview great and young, entrepreneurs like yourselves has done the same thing for me. It's like every week I get to be around just amazing people. And it's like, man, they're doing it. Why can I not go do it?
Yeah.
So talk us through, you guys just closed on a 170 unit, $20 million deal in Atlanta, right? So walk me through, your first deal, right? Where you guys were probably a lesser, share of the GP to now being the lead sponsor and doing that in a year and a half.
Yeah, in regards to the journey and how it worked out. So in the first one, our goal was really not to break the bank, right? It was really just to learn and build our reputation and track record. So the first thing we did was after we joined that Think Multifamily group and we were part of the mastermind group that allowed us to have access to different partnerships and deal flow. We found a deal through just our network in the group. And then we found a way to bring value by making an introduction and also really just being open to helping in any way, which obviously most people would be willing to do, but you have to find a way to bring enough value so that you can at least have a seat at the table. So that was the first one. We did similar thing and a similar approach on the first 4 deals. And that really all just helped us sort of build our reputation, our track record, as well as our knowledge, which was the most important thing.
So the first 4 deals, just to get it right, all you guys were doing was getting on the phone with people, connecting and saying, how can we help you solve a problem to get into the deal, right?
Yeah, we were doing different roles. We were helping out with marketing pieces on certain deals, like investor decks, email templates, and then also in regards to investor relations, we were raising capital from our own investors. But on top of it all, the main thing was just trying to find a way to bring value so you could earn a seat at the table. After that allowed us to build the confidence, the knowledge, the network, and also kind of start to get a little naive, I would say, which for us, it worked out. But I think it's important that we were able to surround ourselves with the right team members, and that took time. So if we were to just gone for the first deal on the first jump, I don't think it would have went well. But at that point now, we thought we had enough enough
Yeah, you
in
had enough
place.
experience. You saw
Yeah.
enough deals. You saw enough underwriting term sheets from banks that you were like, okay, now we can go do it ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then Kenneth, like as he mentioned, he's always underwriting deals. So eventually he did find one, which just took consistent effort. Eventually he found it. And that was when we kind of just said, let's go for it. And one question that we asked our mentor was, do you think we should go for this? Because it was a big deal.
Yeah.
It was in a hard.
You guys raised almost $10 million, right? $9 million or something. I mean, that's massive.
Yeah. And it was during.
And
it
a
was,
really tough
yeah.
time, period of time where people are scared, stock market's getting crushed, interest rates are rising. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, look, we've been doing deals and it's hard. The hardest deals I've ever done have been in the last 90, 120 days.
Yeah. And that was our first one as a lead sponsor.
Yeah, amazing.
Came with a lot of learning lessons, but that's how we were able to get there. Really was just slow and steady. But I think one thing that we've always done is take massive action. And I mean, it's like a Grant Cardone likes to talk about it, 10x. We were working a
Right.
lot, and it wasn't without a lot of sacrifice.
It's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm so excited to follow your journey. I mean, I've been so like encouraged, inspired, and motivated just being around you guys. And, I want everyone else to be able to do the same thing. Like, I think people following your steps in terms of taking action, surrounding yourself with the right people, growing your network, taking risk, betting on yourselves, right? And then really focusing on building your network through mentorship, I think are keys that anyone can follow, right? I mean, you guys are special, but in terms of like, it's not like you guys are rocket scientists
Right.
or have born from some special family. It's like you guys just bet on yourselves, took action, and just kept going, right?
Yeah.
So share with people how they can find you. I love following you guys on Instagram, but talk about where they can find you, how they can follow you, how they can be a part of your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. You can check out our podcast, The Real Estate Monopoly. It's available on most podcast streaming platforms. We also are on pretty much every social media platform at Donis Brothers. That's Donis Brothers. And yeah, check us out, hit us up, DM us, reach out.
Kerwin oversees all the social media.
Yeah,
He's done an
indeed.
incredible job. I've loved following you guys. And I think we're going to have to translate it into Spanish so that our family and friends can watch this in South America and Central America. I love your story. I can't wait to continue to watch you guys. So anyone out there that feels like they're in a rut, struggling, make sure you share this with them. And I think they're going to get a lot of value from it. So thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
That was amazing. Nice job.